Hello and welcome to another video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout. Today it's all about the Game Week 3 team news. My name is Joe and joining me is Fantasy Football Scout editor and Nathan Ferguson is still out guru, Neale. Neale, how are you?
Yeah, when I left you, what was it, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
For the team news, I think Nathan Ferguson was out.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to the update on Nathan Ferguson to see if he's finally back. From being out for so long. Just before we move on, I just want to thank all of those that have joined us early in the live chat. Niraj, Nuisance, Matt, Ash, Furnace Flyer, Leo is good, Han, Esbarn and many more. I know there is quite a few comments in there asking about Perisic. Don't worry, I'm gonna go straight in with that in a second. But also a reminder to everyone to subscribe if you're not already subscribing. If your neighbours aren't subscribing, go out and tell them to subscribe, even if it's the middle of the night, wherever you're watching. Plus, do press that like button. It really helps us. So thanks a lot for that. Just before we move on, even before we talk about Perisic, Neale, I understand there is something happening with pre-season prices with the members area. If you want to tell us about that.
Yeah, like the with the fantasy equivalent of DFS, there's always a sale on. But however, this is definitely the last time you'll get a discounted price for membership for the season. And it's full year as well. I remember they used to end on, was it the 1st of June, traditionally, Scout memberships. But these are a full 12 months, so don't worry about starting late in the season. This will take you till next August. And yeah, I think there's 15% off, if I'm right, on the full subscription prices. So head over to the website now and you'll see that on the menu bar and in the featured articles section, details of how you do that. Of course, for that, you're getting access to all the members' tools, the Opta stats, the season ticker, the Hall of Fame, the Life Hall of Fame, the transfer planner, the comparison tool, all that good stuff. Members' articles from myself as well, so don't let that put you off. Well, but all those benefits and
it's basically the goals imminent table and some other stuff. Yes. That's what you mean to say.
Of course, I should have been top of my list.
Which is the top rated table still at Fantasy Football Scout. Whoever created that, what a marvellous person they are. Thanks for all the comments that Az has changed in the comment. Az has got older, yes. Az has grown a beard. Well, I think his beard's better than mine. And yes, it is different. It's me, it's Joe from the Scoutcast. But let's move on. Spurs are against Wolves and everyone is asking about Perisic. I'm considering getting him in, or rather I was. So Conte's been speaking about Perisic and giving us a hint about whether he may start or feature. But yeah, so what's Conte been saying about Perisic at Wolves?
Well, this is one of the 5 press conferences that we heard from yesterday. And now I thought at the beginning of the week that Perisic would start this one. He had a good impact off the bench against Chelsea. Sessegnon wasn't quite up to it. So I thought Perisic might be in line for a start here. However, Conte was asked about his impact players last weekend who came off the bench and did well, especially Perisic. And he says, we are playing 1 game a week. This is his exact quote. And for this reason, I think especially at the start, I am trying to play with the players who know me much better and know our idea of football. He then goes on to say, we are exploiting this time to bring players like Richarlison, Longley, Bissouma, Perisic, so he name checks him, and Spence to understand, to go into our idea of football. So, if you're taking him at face value, he's perhaps suggesting again that he's going to go with the old guard, as he has done in game weeks 1 and 2. He then went on to say something about the taking steps so that when the games are every 3 days, as they're going to be from game week 4 onwards, that there will be rotation. So perhaps for one last time, this is bench duty for Perisic before he gets his chance in earnest. However, I'll leave it on this point. I did notice that the Football London trio of Spurs journalists have all got Perisic in their predicted start of them.
Is that because they want him to start?
Well, I wonder. Yeah, this is the thing you've got to watch out for with journalists and fans alike. The lineups they want rather than the lineups that they expect their managers to name. But something to bear in mind anyway.
So, in essence, it looks like Conte's giving us very strong hint he's going to go with the same team.
Yeah.
The likes of Perisic and Richarlison won't get a start. That's what the hint is there.
That's what the hint is, yeah.
But when rotation strikes, of course, we've got a weekend match, game week 4, and then we have a midweek game week 5, and then a weekend game week 6. So it is hinting there that Perisic will start getting starts then. So that could be 2 out of 3 starts. We don't know which ones though. I'm in the position of, with a free transfer left, should I get him in? I'm taking that as the no.
Yeah. I would hang fire.
Okay. That's what we think at the moment. Let's have a look at some further news from that match. Okay, so I'm back to the old format here. I've gone off piste with a picture of Perisic there. So I'm back to so Spurs. Romero is out. Does that look like it's going to be long? And what's up with him?
Yeah, so it won't be an unchanged lineup. We think Sanchez will probably come in for Romero as a right-sided centre-half. It's just precautionary, sounds like. Conte said it was a bit of pain in his adductor, and I think he wants to play, but they're not going to risk it for this match. So I think, much like Longley last week, they're going to just rest him this weekend, and I think he'll be back thereafter. Okay,
so if you do own him, a benching, but you don't necessarily have to move him on. It's not that urgent. The Wolves tweet about a lot of their injury news, which wasn't a big surprise, as I think I'm right in saying, wasn't up in time. But there was some news from Wolves that one of their attackers has departed to join, like the thousands of other players in the country have joined Nottingham Forest. Who's left Wolves, and what state are they in for this?
Yeah, Gibbs White has gone. Was he £45 million man? Off to Nottingham Forest for an initial 25 million and then add-ons. So he's no longer a Wolves player. They are getting players back though, and recruiting as well in the transfer market. So they brought in is it Nunes this week, a new midfielder, and of course it was Guedes the previous week. They've gotten some players back from the treatment table as well. Jimenez is back in training, so is Moutinho as well. 2 massive players for them. We've seen how toothless they've been up top, even if Jimenez isn't quite the player he was. Traore and Semedo are already back in training in the previous week and were on the bench last weekend, so they're close to full fitness. So that just leaves, I think, Chiquinho on the bench, who's a long-term absentee. So they've got numbers back.
Okay, so it's some tough news for Perisic owners or those wanting to get him in. But other than that, could be an interesting matchup. But Wolves in a bit of a state of flux at the moment. Next match we'll look at Crystal Palace against Aston Villa. This is the news they've all been waiting for. Is Nathan Ferguson fit to play this?
The 21st century is down and he is not. He's not fit.
End the stream now. That's what they came for.
Well, you were counting on his minutes off the bench, but now I think he's out for a little while. I think the Athletic reported that it could be 8 weeks, but Vieira was down.
8 years.
Yeah, Vieira was downplaying it last week, saying it was just a setback. But we've had many of those so far. So he's on the sidelines for this, along with MacArthur and Tompkins, and I think Butland as well. But as you were for Palace.
Okay, and Aston Villa. So a bit of a change at the back for them. What's happened there?
Yeah, Diego Carlos is the new centre-half signing.
Yeah.
He's out for, it looks like quite a long spell. He's had Achilles surgery. I think he ruptured that against Everton. So that's a long spell on the sidelines. Courtney House is back in training. I think Carlos is the only injury-related absentee. Cash and Coutinho were flagged. I think still are flagged. But we didn't have any updates from either Gerrard or probably more tellingly, in the Villa Medical Bulletin. They put out like a weekly roundup of what's going on the treatment table, and they were not part of that. And we did think, based on Gerrard's comments, that it was just cramp and tiredness last weekend. So we assume those two are fine, and it's only Carlos who's out.
Okay. Now, and has he been saying anything about Bailey as well? Because I neglected to move Bailey on to another useless player, but he's still there on my bench. But could he come in handy? Will he actually play?
Well, he might. Yeah, I think it's not a given that he goes with Ings and Watkins again. Yeah, so Gerrard was firstly asked about Buendia and his impact off the bench last weekend, which was significant, and he came on and scored. And there's plenty of Villa fans clamouring for him to get a start over Coutinho. But then Gerrard brought up Bailey's impact as well, because I think he was sick of the questions about Buendia over Coutinho. And says, what did he say? He says, did you not notice Bailey's performance when he came on as a sub? It was positive. Also discussed about horses for courses selections in his front three. So last week we saw the front two of Ings and Watkins with Coutinho behind. But he started the season with a 4-3-3, and he'll pick different combinations for different games. There's a theory that he picked two strikers because they were up against three centre-halves last weekend. But so he's left a bit of a door ajar there for Bailey to come back in. I still think he did speak very highly of Bailey last Friday and then benched him.
Yeah.
So I think
less horses for courses, more horse whatevers.
Yeah, well, yeah, he's glue for many managers, including myself. He's now departed my team. The point is, I think that he will get starts some weeks, but he will not be able to rely on him every week for a start. Gerrard's going to keep chopping and changing, I think, his combination. So whether you want that from a 4.9 million midfielder or not, I'm sure he'll do well in some games, but that is the risk with him now.
I look forward to his new price tag of 4.5 million in my team at some point then. Everton against Forest. Nottingham Forest. Not Notts Forest, as has been said on too many streams, but Nottingham Forest. So let's start with Everton first. I never know what to make of Everton at the moment. They always seem just totally in flux, totally in need of players in almost every position. But I mean, who are they definitely without then, or maybe without this week?
Well, we've got a few definites, and they're out for quite some time as well. So Mina and Godfrey are out for a while, the two centre-halves. Calvert-Lewin, of course, is still sidelined, and they've added to that list Doucouré, who's going to be out for 3 weeks from now with a hamstring injury picked up last week. Alan is fit. He comes back to it, and Townsend's out as well. He's a long-term one. But I think that's it on the injury front.
Okay, and Nottingham Forest, everyone's joined them, so they must have a fully fit squad. Who's sort of long-term absentees? Who's back? Who's a doubt? Yeah, what shape are they in?
Well, Mark did warn me that Cooper's a bit of a slippery eel when it comes to team news, and we saw that last week. I think we're in for the long haul here with Cooper. So last weekend he ruled out Cook, and he said that I think it was McKenna was a very big doubt. They both made the squad against West Ham, so I think and this is something he's done before in the Championship. He's got a bit of a rep for giving away fake information. So we've got another Solskjaer or Moyes on our hands here. So he says that Richards is out, of course, longer term with a leg problem. Colback is still suffering with illness.
But is
he? He's probably right as rain. He missed out on the squad last weekend. Yates is back in training. He was a regular last season in the middle of the park.
So he's out.
So he could be. Even more vague was the update on Moussa Niakhaté. So he was a starter last weekend.
Yeah.
Appeared to come off with some kind of muscle problem. Wasn't spotted in training every week amongst the gallery of photos. And then Cooper would only say, we'll see if he's going to be out, and then how long he'll be out after that. So. Right. None the wiser.
I'm having echoes of the previous management at Aston Villa, where I remember when it was Grealish. Is Grealish going to be back? Oh yes.
Oh yes, it was Smith.
And he never was, and Smith had a pop at fantasy managers. More daring to want to know. So maybe Steve Cooper's having a laugh at us at our expense. Okay. The Bernardo in the live chat has said disappointed by the lack of Vikings references so far. So let's go with Fulham against Brentford. Damsgaard at Brentford. How is he going to start?
No, he's not. He's not according to Thomas Frank. He's in the squad and he's going to be on the bench, but you might get on at some point. But Thomas Frank basically saying this afternoon that he's not quite ready for the starting lineup. I think it's as you were with Brentford. So Canos and AJ, I'm not sure you pronounce his name. They're out still, but they're closing in on a comeback. Pinnock is longer term, but
okay.
Apart from that, I think it's as you were with the Bees.
And with Fulham, now I guess Andreas Pereira is a key figure for them, because it looked like he had some kind of injury or knock last week. So he's sort of yellow flagged at the moment in my team. But does it look like he'll be back?
I think he's all right. I need to watch Silva's presser all the way through. But he said it was as you were, I think, on the team news front, which would be Wilson and Solomon, the two long-term absentees, wingers-wise. I'll come back to that. Let me do a bit more delving into that. Okay. Silva's is one of the last ones off the rank this afternoon.
Okay.
But I'll have a bit more look.
If people are watching and listening and they're a bit like me and they've got him on the bench somewhere and you're not sure who's going to start, I'm currently putting him at first sub, but if it looks like he is a doubt and might not start but might get minutes, I'll move him back a bit on the bench. So yes, do come back to that, or do check. Obviously at Fantasy Football Scout later, and our tweets and articles as well that are coming out tonight about that. Let's move on to Leicester and Southampton. A player back for Leicester. He was in my initial Game Week 1 drop. I took him out. He was injured. So who's back?
Harvey Barnes is back, and he might be thrust straight into the starting 11 as well. Rodgers went from saying he should be available to might not be able to play the full 90 minutes. So that was a bit of an upgrade in the middle of the press conference. And he is quite key to their... He's basically the only natural winger they've got, apart from Albrighton. So he does allow them to go back to that 4-3-3, which is what I think Rodgers prefers.
Oh, okay.
So he's back, but Pereira and Bertrand are out. And I've just seen today that Fofana looks unlikely to feature as well. He's been linked with a move away to Chelsea. I think his head's been turned.
So he could be a good option for us when he joins Chelsea.
He could, yeah.
He could be indeed, especially because he's, what is he, 4.5 million?
I think he's 4.5, yeah, like most of Leicester, yeah.
Welcome aboard
Definitely.
at some point. As for Southampton now, Leicester, I mean, fair to say, Leicester have a track record against Southampton. A few drubbings there. Not always, but have been known to. So how are Southampton lined up for this potential 9-0 drubbing?
Yeah, they are. I think they're mostly good. Liverpool was obviously long term, and what did Hasenhüttl say yesterday? Yeah, Romain Perraud as well, another fullback, is got fitness issues and he keeps falling by the wayside. He's out as well. Walcott is out. Shea Adams should be fine. He's been back in training after missing out earlier in the week.
Okay.
One quote of note, if you're interested in that matter, says he was talking about the prospect of going back to that 4-2-2-2, but said it was more of an all-in, all-out attack formation. So he might be back in the wing-back system for this one. Okay,
let's plough through these as well. So another team historically that does well on the south coast is Arsenal when they visit Bournemouth. I seem to remember some great goals. I remember Giroud scoring I think it was a hat-trick in about 3 minutes or something. Yeah. It's probably just made that, but it did seem like in quite a short space of time. But yes, Bournemouth, they host Arsenal. Let's start with Bournemouth first. I know Solanke looked. I mean, there's been rumours that it's quite a long-term injury, but it might be short-term. But yeah, is he fit? Out? What is he?
I think he's a big doubt for this. Okay. He wasn't pictured in they had an open training session in midweek and he wasn't involved in that. Parker, he was another bit of a slippery customer. He didn't give us much yesterday. He said that Solanke would be assessed tomorrow, so that's today. Said he was a maybe, but as you said, we haven't seen him in training, so we assume he's out. They've also got Rothwell and Fredericks out, and David Brooks is back in modified training. Of course, he had cancer, I think about a year ago, and he's thankfully recovered from that, and he's been back in training, gradually building up fitness. So might see him in the autumn sometime, but a long way to go before he's back in the first team.
Okay, and as for Arsenal, there were quite a few absentees, but they're more on the sort of squad players. But nevertheless, their ranks have improved, I understand.
They have, yeah. As you said there, it was sort of peripheral players, at least for now. Vieira and Smith Rowe, they were both involved in an under-21 match on Wednesday. So they both got half a game then. And that basically clears the physio room, apart from, I think, Reece Nelson, who's, again, backup winger. But yeah, they're getting the bodies back, and just in time for that swift turnaround of games. Game week's 4 to 6, which is in a week, and then they've got the Champions League the Europa League. Sorry, Arsenal fans. Europa League after that, which is when you might see the rotation ramp up a bit.
Okay, so definitely, it sounds like next week's team news is going to be very important in terms of looking at that rotation that's coming up. But this could be the last week where, fingers crossed, we don't get too much rotation.
Yeah,
I think like so. You can hear. I mean, especially with Arsenal, if they've got a number of those players back, and we know that Smith Rowe. I mean, I think he scored 3 weeks in a row when he came on as a sub.
He did. I had him.
Yeah, so that was a very good player to own as a sub, but he could get some starts there. Moving on to Leeds against Chelsea. So I'm going to keep Mason Mount because he often scores away and he often scores against Leeds. So I'm going to keep him and keep my fingers crossed. But how are the home side Leeds set up for this encounter with Chelsea?
Yeah, I've just listened to Jesse Marsh's presser there. They are still without Dallas, Ealon and Firpo. They're probably without Cooper and Bamford as well. Bamford and Cooper have been, I think, training this week a little bit. But Marsh's comments about them being, if they're not ready for Sunday, then thereafter, that seems to be suggesting that they're both out. In fact, Bamford went one better, and it was on the Leeds podcasts yesterday and said he was not going to play, or very unlikely to play against Chelsea.
Right, yeah.
So he gave the game away there.
Yeah.
Gelhardt's the only one they've got back, but I think we'll probably see a very, very similar side with James in for Bamford.
Okay. Now Chelsea as well. Now they do have some players that are out as well, which could alter their chances of a clean sheet, perhaps. I don't know, but who's definitely out and who's a bit of a doubt?
Yeah, they've got 3 definitely out. Kovacic and Kante, of course, they're big losses from the centre of the park. Armando Broja's out as well for just a few days. It's enough to miss this game. Pulisic is going to be assessed after some Achilles trouble. And, of course, Alonso, we think, is basically a goner now for Barcelona.
Yeah.
That's the injury news. There's a great article on Cucurella from Tom last night.
I saw that.
Yeah, he's talking about the Kante cover in midfield and whenever they've played without him. So do go along to read that.
So who's likely to replace them? Will it be, say, Gallagher and Jorginho?
Well, Jorginho, you think Jorginho who started the first 2, and then Gallagher, probably quite a good fit for a Leeds game because he's got that kind of all-action press about him. Whether would they be paired together as a 2, maybe drop Mount back a bit to make it into a 3. To not leave them as exposed. They also got Loftus-Cheek, who was, of course, a right wing back last weekend. But yeah, they are short of first choice options. And
so Cucurella, who's now my top choice to come in to replace Patterson at Everton, which is quite an upgrade. But so is he likely to start over Chilwell? I know there was some comments from Tuchel during the week saying that indicating that Cucurella was going to get starts at the moment.
Yeah, and there's some more comments this afternoon as well. So Cucurella, I think, has got the shirt for Gameweek 3, and then we'll see when the rotation kicks in Gameweek 4. But he was asked about the pair. He said if they play in a back 4, they're competing for the same place. Okay. But if they're in a back 5, which they generally are, then Ben is a clear wing back, and Mark is both. He can play in a back 3, as you've seen in Brighton.
Yes.
And as a wing back, so there is room for both of them in that same team.
Yes, he can play obviously wing back, full back, and in that back 3 as well. So very versatile player.
Yeah.
Now Chilwell, I'm sorry to press on this because part selfishness because it's a player I might be getting in. But I noticed Chilwell played in under 21s for Chelsea. Does that indicate that he could start, or indicate that he wouldn't start?
Well, I wouldn't have thought this weekend. He was evidently struggling for fitness on the opening day. He played through necessity because Cucurella had just been signed and Alonso was off to Barca, I think, to negotiate transfer, so they didn't have anybody else really. And it was quite obvious that he was short of match sharpness.
Okay.
So whilst he is getting up to speed, however long that will take, he was out for a year, just about. And Cucurella's got that shirt, but it might not be too long before we see that kind of rotation. But as you say, Cucurella's got the versatility to play at centre half, like Azpilicueta did in his pomp. So I think he'll start more games than not, Cucurella.
I'm 99.9% there with that transfer tonight. Might need a beer or two just to get over the line. But that's what a dullard manager I am. 99.9% still a risk. West Ham against Brighton. Now, what a start Brighton have had, considering they've jettisoned loads of their players, but they've got lots of good ones to replace them because they're a system-based side.
Yeah.
West Ham host them. How are West Ham shaped up for the potential league champions visiting them?
Yeah, they're fine, I think, on the injury front. Dawson's not too far away from a return. I think he's had a thigh issue. And the new centre-half, Aguerd, he's out. I think he's the only one red flagged. Scamacca, or Scamacca, I should brush up on my pronunciation. He scored last night in the Conference League, but Moyes was saying that they're going to try and bring him into the Premier League gradually. So maybe bench duty again this weekend for him.
It looks like those that are desperate to see Mulder and Solly reunited in the Brighton squad, that's not going to happen because Mulder is still a long-term injury.
He is, yeah. I think he may even be out for the World Cup with Poland, so he's out for a long, long while. They've got a new left-back who's going to be in the squad.
Yes.
Not Peter Purvis, but Estupinan.
Yeah.
No relation, Purvis. He's going to be in the squad. He's a new left-back. And so is Neil Maupay going to be in the squad as well, despite him being linked with, I think, Forest and Everton and various places. But he's in the squad according to Potter.
Okay. So I would say that it's very likely that Welbeck will be starting up front.
Very likely.
Potter has been very keen on Welbeck at the moment. So until Welbeck is injured, which will happen at some point, unfortunately, it looks like his. So, yeah. Just for the one person there that might be considering getting Maupay in, don't. Okay, well, let's move on. Newcastle against Manchester City. There was the people in the chat want to know where the Viking references would come. So it's Haaland is obviously a great asset for people to have, and a captaincy candidate as well. So, but meanwhile, let's go with the visitors first. Manchester City. What sort of shape are they in? And I understand they have a new left back as well.
They do, yes. Sergio Gomez, who my colleague Mark wrote about yesterday. Not it's Mark with a lowercase, with a small c rather than a kick and cut. Yeah. He is a fairly, he's rookie really. He's from Anderlecht. He's only played one season at left back. He was an attacking midfielder before that. Oh. So I catch and stats. He'll obviously be, I think, gradually easing into the first team, but he's ready enough to be in the squad. According to Pep, he's going to travel to Newcastle this weekend. So I think initially backup for Walker and Cancelo, and then gradually maybe eating into the minutes, especially with Walker. Other than that, fully fit, I think. So Phillips is back, Palmer's back, Laporte's still out. I think until September. So he's only one red flagged at the moment from City.
Okay, and their host Newcastle. They've got a few players back, and I don't know. I don't know if it's going to help them. Really, it's Manchester City.
Well, I remember writing in the scout squad that this looks the trickiest of the top 4 fixtures this weekend because they're away at Newcastle, and Newcastle's on a good run of clean sheets at St James's. Yeah. However, last season we lost 9-0 on aggregate.
Okay.
So there is exceptions to our defensive form, and I do worry about our setup because I think Howe just doesn't have it in them to defend against teams like City. We've got Fraser back in training from a back spasm, and there's going to be a very late decision on Matt Targett. I didn't see him in the training ground pictures, so I assume he's going to miss out again. And Shelby's out for the medium term. But apart from that, I think we're looking good.
Just want to thank all of the nearly 1,500 people who have joined us in the live stream. Thanks so much for that.
Yeah, thank you.
And in particular, thanks to Lars, who has said, I used to hate all the press conferences. Now I just have to listen to Neale. Thanks, guys. Many exclamation marks. Well, thank you, Lars. That's a lovely comment there. Let's have a look at... I hope you're not a Manchester United fan, by the way, Lars, because we will mention them next. Manchester United versus Liverpool. Manchester United. We talk about Nottingham Forest. Everyone's signing for them, but no one's signing for Manchester United. But they might have a new recruit soon.
Yeah, Casemiro is apparently on his way. Ancelotti confirmed that last night. I don't know what he's walking into. I mean, I'm sure Eriksen was having a bit second doubts last weekend when he was looking at his old team, hammering them 4-0.
He's the guy in the meme, the pizza delivery guy who's walking into the flat on fire. That's what he is.
He is, yeah. You do wonder how that's going to turn around at United. I mean, they're so bad last weekend. They've got Martial back, which is clutching at straws for someone who's going to turn the ship around. He was very good in pre-season, but he's back in training from a hamstring issue. They've only got Lindelof and Pelistri out, which shows you how thin their squad is, even when they've got everyone there, because the bench was like pretty weak last weekend. And they've only got 2 players out injured now, so they're awful. Avoid.
As Matt Henley says in the live chat, it's a sad state of affairs where I might bench Rashford for Gross.
Pascal Gross, sensible move.
He's better currently. Yeah. So there we go. Luckily, Manchester United got a nice easy fixture. They got Liverpool. Now they have no Nunez, Darwin, because he is suspended for 3 games. So they're gonna need an extra body up front. But is that extra body now available?
It is.
I should say that extra Bobby now available.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, Firmino is fit and he's been back in training, so we think he'll come in for Darwin.
Okay.
But it's not looking good elsewhere. I think they've got the longest injury list in the entire Premier League. So they've got Thiago still out, Jota, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Kelleher, Konate, Matip, Ramsey, and Jones all out. So the good news is Gomez is probably fit to start at centre half. He wasn't quite up to it last weekend because he'd been out. And Naby Keita's got another week of training under his belt as well after illness. So a couple of bodies back, but still a lot on the sidelines.
Okay, just before we go, just got a handy graphic really of sort of rounding up the team news just for those watching on the video and just for those listening on the podcast. I mean, that's it, just rounding up what we've just been saying really. So it highlights some of those key players, like we were saying, Firmino's back, Barnes as well. A lot of those Arsenal squad players back, which might indicate there could be some rotation down the line. And of course, Chelsea figure quite highly here. We got Kante out with his hamstring, Kovacic with his knee, Broja. I've just put injury. I couldn't actually discover what was wrong with him. Do you know what's wrong with Broja?
Broja? No, I mean he's only out for a few days, so we're just assuming it's like a knock or something. That was a dead leg. Tuchel didn't say.
Okay, and of course that red card there for Darwin, but hopefully that'll be useful to people to go back. But in the meantime, it's been a pleasure reuniting the old team again for the team news, and good luck with your moves as well in FPL this weekend, Neale. Good luck everyone watching and listening. Hope it's been a use and helps your decisions, your last minute decisions as well for the team. But thanks a lot for that. And just before we go, obviously just another reminder, please do subscribe, tell your friends to subscribe, tell your families, ring them up, say subscribe to Fantasy Football Scout, even though they might not know what you're talking about, and press that like button as well. It helps something involving algorithms and stuff. So please do that. Thanks a lot for your time and take care.